Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to our triangle meditation. I hope you can hear me. I'm out here on the road in Arizona, and I don't have my usual sound equipment with me, and it's on a computer different from the one that is usually used to make these broadcasts. Probably Tuija will be back tomorrow from Finland. And I just want to say that it looks like we're going to have an adjustment. These broadcasts and the Ask programs will continue for the rest of this week and also for next week. And let me take a look here. Until the 14th. They will re-begin on the 10th with triangles and then through the 14th. But then the conference comes. And then we will be involved in all of that conference work for about a month. Further, starting tomorrow, and we will do our best to send you a notification, we will be using the 5 a.m. Well, let's see, this is the 5 p.m. So we'll be using the 5 p.m. GMT for the remainder of this week. And okay, good, you can hear me, I'm glad. And then the next week will be the 5 a.m. GMT, but not the 6, but the 5. And the only difference there will be that there will continue to be a science of triangles next Wednesday. And that will be at the opposite time. Now we're on the evening schedule, we'll be on the morning schedule next week, and the science of triangles will be in the evening. And there's some very interesting things that we're taking up concerning the main planetary centers. So Tuija and I do the best we can under the circumstances of traveling in preparation for the conference. And, hopefully all will go smoothly. Now, I just want to maybe say a few things with regard to triangles. They are reflected at many different levels within our etheric body. That is one of the lower levels, but probably it descends even more than that. And within our three periodical vehicles, monad, soul, and personality. And in fact, we can look in a way at the personality as itself a triangle. The souls are often called triangles, and the true spiritual triad is really the true soul, and it is the triangle. And if you go higher still, you will find that the monad is the triangle. Everywhere you look, you find triangles. Now, some of the most interesting, well, the most practical, of course, are within the energy system of the human being, yes. And we have to get those functioning correctly. And, if you would turn to page 170, 169, 170, 171 in there of A Treatise on Cosmic Fire, you would see a list of many triangles which work in the energy system of the human being. But they are all somehow reflections of some planetary triangles that we have. Now just think about this triangle, for instance. We have a great being that is found on the logoic plane. Actually, well, it's found even much higher. And it reflects the solar logos. and it contains three planetary schemes. It is the Brahma aspect of our solar logos. Now, the whole next conference is going to be about Brahma, about the third ray, about the third aspect, and about the forerunners, which we are, carrying the word as we attempt to do. But look at the triangle, for instance. When I say look, I mean imagine, because I'm just not going to start switching things around here in the attempt to find certain images, and I might lose all of us in the process. So, think of it: Saturn, Mars, and the Earth. Okay. Well, in this great being that we're talking about, that we call the Holy Spirit, goodness, I hope that one of our friends is saying, is it normal that I don't see anything? And I hope you can see, because I have a separate page running and I do see. So if you are having trouble seeing, it's just going to be one of those things. And if you can hear my voice, then that's may have to be the way it is. So, my apologies if that is the case. We'll try to sort out these technical matters, but what's important right now is the information. Saturn is the mental body of this great being. Mars is the astral body, and our Earth is the physical body. So right there, you understand something about these great planets and the function that they provide within our solar system. Now let's look at another interesting triangle which involves the Earth, and I'll start from the bottom up. It's not yet a sacred triangle. It's the Earth, it's Mars, and Venus. Okay, now what would you imagine? Again, um, the Earth will be the physical body of this triangle. Venus, which stands often for Kama Manas, it's a blend of mind and um, emotion or feeling or astrality. It stands for the astral body in this connection, for the second aspect. No, Mars does. Mars does, excuse me. Mars definitely, and so that's a non-sacred planet, and Venus does stand for the mind. But suppose we look around our Earth another time, and we have an interesting triangle, which we're going to leave Mars out of it, and we have Mercury, Venus, and the Earth. Now, in this particular triangle, and remember there's always one point in the triangle which is stronger than the others at any particular time, we have Mercury representing the mental body. We have Venus, as I just discussed before, representing the astral body, and a slightly more cultivated astral body, because Venus is a sacred planet and Mars is not. And then the Earth again represents the etheric physical body. And what you can do, of course, is you can go all through the triangles of our solar system, and you can find these relationships where the three aspects of divinity are always found. Now, when we are forming our triangles between people who have let's say, a soul infusing personality, and that should be all of us, no one is really, taking any kind of dominant role. We're all in that together, and we are all sharing this space of goodwill and of light. And so that's what we're trying to transmit between ourselves. So we create our little triangles network, which joins the big triangles network. But the thing to have in mind is that whatever we do down here, we are definitely reflecting the solar systemic planetary triangles, and they are reflecting solar logoic triangles. For instance, our sun is making triangles with a number of stars in our local vicinity. And those triangles are reflecting constellational triangles. Now let's see if I was to try to think here of a constellational triangle. Let's just say that suppose we have a ajna center, heart, and solar plexus. I'll try to give an example here. There are constellations which represent those in our local vicinity, and as part of that great being that is called the unknown, or let's call him a supercosmic logos. Let's call that being the one about whom naught may be said. And so let's take the little bear, will be the constellation representing the Ajna center. And maybe Orion will be the constellation representing the heart center. And then maybe our own 7 solar systems, our local 7 solar systems, of which our solar system is one, would represent the solar plexus. So the main thing, okay, and another example. Suppose we take the 7 head centers uh, in this great being, and then we take the Ajna center in this great being, and then we take the risen Kundalini in this great being. That would be a triangle between the great bear, the little bear, and the great constellation Draco. So wherever you look, and as far as the human being can look, there are these tremendous relationships. The whole web of space is meant to be triangulated, and maybe eventually it will be a pattern of interlocking circles, just the way our sun is at this present time. So, okay, just get the idea that we're involved in a little exercise which is very important for our particular planet, very important, but it has its roots in something that is really solar systemic and cosmic and supercosmic. It just goes on throughout the universe. And the big, let's just say that every universal God, the God of the whole solar system, or not rather, the God of the whole universe, and there are, many such because you have one universe after another, has a plan. And that plan is all about how to bring its own nature down through every one of its emanations in the great universe. And when we can triangulate the field of space and maybe one day produce interlocking circles, then that great universal divine plan, way beyond any of us at the present time, that great plan can be, in fact, extended throughout the universe, and then we will have the consummation of the purpose of any particular universe. And what we're trying to do right here on our little planet is we're trying to spiritualize the lower levels of our planet. We have a bunch of inheritance, you might say, from the previous solar system. And a lot of matter is not yet redeemed in terms of the agenda of this second major solar system in which we're living. And when we manage to triangulate the etheric body of space, well, or just starting it, the etheric body of our planet, and eventually the solar system, then all of those spiritual factors really descend and can lead to the fulfillment of the spiritual purpose of the greater being. So that's that's a little bit of the, and we deal with all of this in our Science of Triangles webinar, which also takes place on a Wednesday. We had one a GMT today morning, and for me here in Arizona, it was last night at 11 o'clock. We deal with all of these larger issues, and we must remember them. Remember the larger issues when you're just working with your soul infused personalities that convey to each other goodwill and love and light, as we say the great invocation. So this will be a little bit, modified, a little bit abbreviated meditation, and quite straight, because I'm really not set up for music, and I don't dare try because I might lose you altogether. And maybe by tomorrow, Tuya will be back with the reappearance of the Christ from Finland. And I'm just saying one more time, it's going to be my effort, because I seem to be the one, with Neptune in the third house, who doesn't get things quite straight. So I'm going to make an attempt to meet at for the rest of this week at 5. It's going to be 5 p.m. GMT, and for the rest of next week, 5 a.m. GMT, and then we have the conference, where I hope a lot of you can come or at least attend otherwise. So now let's move ahead and bring ourselves into a stage where we breathe in the white light. We work with all different kinds of light, different colors for different purposes. The white light is the synthesis of all the colors, as we know. And we should, begin to feel this light of the soul. And inaudibly, we sound the Om 3 times inwardly. And the energy should, it starts to be felt, and especially as the group gathers, because no real time or space actually separates us in the field of consciousness which we are creating together. The Tibetan advises to wake up in the morning, and maybe before we move out of bed, or we can get into a chair, he asks us to close our eyes and link up with our solar angel, and with himself, the master and friend, and then to see kind of a triangle pointing downwards. And by now you are familiar with this triangle. It's a solid triangle, and basically it's having the color, the foundational color of the soul, which is kind of a golden, yellow, orange, is the foundational color. And the apex comes to the top of our head. So as in this image, which is also a bit slower here and under the circumstances that I'm working, but there it is. Hopefully, hopefully you can see it. We've had one member report that she cannot, but I hope that it's possible. It is on some computers, if you press by mistake the F9 key, it will wipe out the whole screen. Then you have to press it again. And anyway, there's some problems sometimes pressing the wrong button. So there is that image of how we bring this color orange, golden, yellow, representing the master's work on the higher mental plane, and the solar angels work on the higher mental plane down into our head center. And we imagine this color light flowing through our entire personality and especially through our etheric physical mechanism. And he tells us, to breathe in the color, to bathe in this color as we would bathe in the waters of the sea, and that will be of use to us, helping us with our various difficult problems. And it floods the whole body. We breathe it in, we feel ourselves breathing it in, bathing in it, and it permeates all aspects of our equipment, and basically we leave it to the master to deal with what we have created. We don't have to manipulate it. We just are pervaded by this color. And it should aid us in handling our life problems, he says. And we then attempt to contact the spiritual triplicity, the full solar angel. It's on the cosmic ethers, and it projects an aspect of itself onto the higher mental plane. The old occult saying here, having pervaded the entire universe with a fragment of myself, I remain. So a fragment of the solar angel basically is found on the higher mental plane, and we can sometimes call that the angel of the presence. So you blend in the consciousness in your egoic lotus is really a blend of the monad's presence, your own monad, and then the influence of the solar angel, and then also the influence of the master. 3 different kinds of energies and consciousness are found on the higher mental plane, and one day, hopefully soon, we'll be able to focus at will within the higher mental plane. Even in the first book, Letters on Occult Meditation, he says, do that. And then that will be real meditation, leading to contemplation. So let's try to do that as if we are really focusing in the causal body, in the egoic lotus, in this realm of soul light, soul love, soul will, etc. And if we can do that, we will discover that we are a community of souls and related to each other through spiritual discernment and response to group vibration and spiritual telepathy. So, and then we can, bring that energy down into our entire personality, so we become increasingly the soul-infused personality. That is our objective all along, to be the soul-infused personality, which is finally achieved just before the fourth initiation. And in that state of being the gradually infusing, soul-infusing personality, we will reach out for a few minutes to those with whom we have formed triangles and visualize, for some people, I suppose, in fairly rapid succession, the triangles that we are working with. You can call the people by name or you can visualize them. We'll spend a few minutes doing that. And we, should feel this love and goodwill surging through our own little network, even if our network is just one triangle. Some people have many, some people a moderate amount, some people have few, but what's important is to engage in this work, which, according to the Tibetan, must go on. So love and goodwill and light are being transmitted from soul-infusing personality to soul-infusing personality, and one should really, feel the connection and be increasingly in the soul space when our little networks are activated. And of course, the little networks connect with the big triangles network across the globe, from country to country, state to state, continent to continent. There will be covered an etheric network of triangles. A real thing, and necessary to have in mind. Eventually it will lead to those three great beings. They are really great beings. Any being that has been a planetary logos in a previous solar system is a great being. So they're called the three Buddhas of activity, and they are a triangle surrounding Sanat Kumara. And sometimes you can visualize the Christ at the center of your own triangles, but when it comes to the great triangle of the three Buddhas, it is Sanat Kumara in the center, the Lord of Shambhala, of whom we can know practically nothing, but we know that he is the great savior of the planet and the highest example of the teaching ray upon our planet. So the Buddhas of activity, just give a thought towards them. And they can activate this global triangles network in their own particular ways should the requisite emergency arise. And we have plenty of those coming up. And there is the triple relation of our own little network, the global network, and the three Buddhas of activity, and the great heart in the middle of it all. The triangles are substantial. They are substance. They stand beneath the dense physical form. And when you create triangles in still higher spheres, they stand beneath the dense physical body of the planetary logos, which consists of the lower 18 or 21 subplanes. So there are triangles here in the lower ethers and triangles in still higher realms. So we are supposed to really enter this work, he tells us, with depth of feeling and enthusiasm, and with a certain fervor, because this is a work, and the Tibetan is given to understatement, not overstatement, and he says this work must go on. And when we want to know what we can do in a world which seems to be reverting to personal values out of fear of the coming great conclave in the year 2025, we can work deeply, strenuously, with great feeling on our triangles work. And it will be a remarkable transformation. So now, this is a somewhat abbreviated meditation. What I want to do basically is, let's imagine our network, the whole network, all the triangular connections, and we will say together, you say it in your place and I in mine and so forth, the great invocation, realizing the triangulation of light, love, and power. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. I said, let purpose guard the little wills of men, but, well, there's truth in that too. We have the divine will, the divine purpose, the divine intention. And finally, we're learning how to get in touch with that factor we call will. And one day, even though we don't understand it very much now, there will be an opportunity to create triangles of will. And that will be, I think, a very important time. Perhaps Vulcan will be discovered by that time, and every time a new planet is discovered, its energy comes into humanity and can be recognized and wielded by humanity. Well, friends, I'm not going to really go any further here. As I say, this is a short and straight meditation without our customary music. I just want to thank you all for gathering here with me. And I know Tuija is on the other end, but in Finland. And we will be back tomorrow in the evening. But remember the change. I'm going to attempt this change. And the change will be 5 p.m. GMT. Now, if you don't find me, just wait a little while and go to the 6 p.m. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to make this change, and the two of you will be able to make it. And for the next week and a half or so, we'll be using the 5s instead of the 6s, and then comes the conference. So let's just say many blessings to you, and thank you so very much for sustaining this meditation and your role in general in the Triangles network. And tomorrow, hopefully, will be visible to everybody, and we'll be back with some music, for the reappearance of the Christ meditation. So we'll see you later, and all the very best to you. Bye bye.